Greetings. This is John again. How you doing, Henry?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing well, and we have an exciting volume here, Volume 3, because today we want to present to our viewers two suggestions that are original from us to promote voting and to promote majority rule. And you will not find these in other sources except we will explain later that you can find it on a website by the name of J-Manimus. You can see in the sign behind us.
And then, you were going to say, John?
I was going to say the first suggestion is a majority rule amendment to the Constitution, and Henry's going to tell you that there's a foundation and background already in the Constitution to give the Congress some powers over how members of Congress and members of the Senate are elected.
Well, first off, in the Constitution, Article 4, Section 4 clearly states, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. Now, Republican form of government means res publica, or rule of the people by the people. And that's what we call democracy. But going even further, as far as elections, Article 1 and Section 5 of the Constitution clearly states, for each house, that's the Senate and House of Representatives, they shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business. But a smaller number may adjust from day to day and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such a manner and under such penalties as each House, Senate, House of Representatives may provide. What that simply means, each chamber is going to determine whether its elected members are qualified and, have been legitimately elected. And it further states in Article 1, Section 5 that each House may determine the rules of the proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member.
Okay, so these provisions already in the Constitution clearly establish that the intent of the Constitution and our plan for our republic is to be democratic, to have majority rule, and to have each of the houses, the legislative houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate, to control the qualifications of their members. So here is the text. We read this in two parts. They're basically kind of repetitive because it says the same thing for the House as it does for the Senate. The House of Representatives may place limitations or restrictions on the participation of its members who, when elected, did not receive the votes of at least 51% of the electorate of their representative district. The House of Representatives further may place limitations or restrictions on the participation of members who, when elected, did not receive the votes of at least 51% of the adult population of their representative district. And we're suggesting also the same thing for the Senate.
In the Senate of the United States may place limitations or restrictions on the participation of members who were elected, did not receive the votes of at least 51% of the electorate of their state. And the Senate of the United States may place limitations or restrictions on the participation of members who, when elected, did not receive the votes of at least 51% of the adult population of their state. Now, nothing in this amendment shall be construed to diminish the power of each of the states to conduct the people's election for state and federal offices in their jurisdiction and in their state. So, John, what I really love about this, proposed amendment is the elegance of it. We started this for voter promotion. We noticed that a lot of candidates, especially here in the United States, are elected via a plurality. And it could just, whoever has the most votes, it could be 30%, 35%. But we are looking to boost that over 51%. And we also address that with the runoff voting, ranked choice. So everything is to get not only more participation, but to send people to the House and to the Senate that have a clear mandate, from the people. Not just a small minority, but a majority.
Absolutely. And just in defense of this proposed amendment, want to add that the imposition of majority rule is the equivalent of true democracy. And this is not just our opinion. This is argued and defended vigorously in resources. For example, a couple that you can find online. One in the sign behind me, Fair Vote, has something to say about the importance of majority rule. Annenberg Classroom. I don't have the word classroom here, it's too long, but Annenberg Classroom is not only a professional organization that gives a well-written description of the importance of majority rule, but the Annenberg Classroom resource is used by social studies teachers all over the United States. Then we have something else from the Brennan Center about people's concerns about corruption. But just before I move on to the statement about corruption, I want to point out what many of our listeners and viewers probably already know. We're proposing a constitutional amendment, but a constitutional amendment can't really be proposed by petition or by the people themselves. It can be proposed by 2/3 of the Congress or by 2/3 of the state legislatures. So that's something to keep in mind. If the people wanted this amendment, they'd have to talk to their legislators in the state and their congressional representatives. Now, I wanted to point out that I think Henry has this. I don't have it right in front of me, but Henry has the report from the Brennan Center.
Yeah, the Brennan Center, they had a very interesting thing. It was like both general population and population divided into groups registered over 90% dissatisfaction with corruption and expressed not only concern and venting of feelings, but a serious desire for reforms and change to reduce or eliminate corruption. Now, all of this, once again, it funnels into voter promotion and it funnels into majority rule, and that's very important to, a Republican form of government, because when people feel that elections are unfair or corrupt, that's another way for people to stay at home, not be involved. What we're looking to do is to get more people involved, and with more people involved, we're hoping for more transparency, less opportunities for corruption. So that's what this amendment addresses. It addresses more people not only voting, but the people that we are sending to represent us, within the House, within the Senate, will actually, have a mandate of a majority of the electorate.
Okay, thanks, Henry. I would like to also point out that one of the findings of the Brennan Center is that people who were concerned about corruption often considered the excessive contributions from the rich and the super rich, which enabled them to control candidates and control elections and campaigns, because they can give amounts like $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million to the candidate of their choice. So Like the Brennan findings are, that people would like that also to be reformed. They would like to have that be changed so that the super rich don't control everything with their money. So to address that, our second suggestion is exactly about that, about the excess money and the people who have money to play with, so to speak, and want to give large sums to the candidate of their choice, who may be the candidate who's going to do what they want after they're elected. So Henry is going to speak next and read our suggestion about high amounts being contributed to a candidate.
Well, what we came up with is when an individual, business entity, or any other political group makes a donation of more than $5,000 to a single candidate or political party or PAC, they must donate a matching amount to an election expense fund in the subject state, and said fund available for and only for election expenses in the subject state, but also for federal legislative offices sent from the state to Congress. So basically the rationale is, you have money available for a candidate or political party, you should also donate to the cause of voter promotion and making voting more convenient, and to encourage greater participation in elections. When you and I were discussing this, John, I remember saying that this was an elegant solution to something from my research that wasn't finding much traction here. I researched some other countries that were doing public financing of campaigns, and Canada at one point, I don't know if they still do, it wasn't clear in my research whether they'd abandoned it or not because it was becoming unpopular there. They had prevented businesses and unions from donating to their elections. Now, researching any kind of option like that in the United States, there's a great amount of pushback against that. It seems like the culture of politics, they want that money. They want that money in politics, and hence that's what encourages the corruption. But what I like about this, it's, if you're going to donate a large sum, you also have to donate the same sum to promoting elections and participation for everybody, not just a government by the rich for the rich, but of the people, for the people, by the people.
Absolutely. And so we're both of these suggestions to me are clearly address majority rule. These are suggestions of things the kind of thing that we would do if we were really serious about majority rule, really serious about democracy. Remember in our first volume, we talked about how for 120 years, the people who have won elections and then taken their seat in their offices to make the laws and control policy and run the government have all, 99% of the time, they have received only a third of the electorate. A third of the people who are eligible to vote in their district or in their state. And so, a lot of people will wonder, well, how could we possibly get 51.5%? Everybody has to vote. Well, that's one conclusion that people come to, that everybody has to vote, that we have to have mandatory voting. But that's something that is open for discussion, and we will address it some more in our next volume, Volume 4. And I'd just like to, I think we can close our Volume 3 by pointing out that there's website J-Manimus is where you will find the proposed amendment, the proposed majority rule amendment. It's there on the website, and it's also there in a PDF form, so you can take a look at it and think about it. And I just say, think of it as an example of the kind of thing people come up with when you get really serious about wanting majority rule and no longer accepting a system that protects minority rule.
Also, for ease of checking out these wonderful sites, we're going to actually add the links to these specific pages in the comment sections when we post the YouTube video. That way you can just click on it and go right to it. Sounds good, John?
It sounds good, and I think that's a wrap for Volume 3. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much for listening. Have a good one.